Watch out! Watch out! Prosecute the police! No justice, no peace! Prosecute the police! No justice, no peace!
The police have to understand that, you know, this the climate they have created.
They were supposed to be there to serve and to protect, and I didn't see a single one of them lift a finger to do anything to help. What I did see was murder, and that's what I want them.
Watch out! Watch out! Prosecute the police! No justice, no peace! Prosecute the police! No justice, no peace!
The police have to understand that, you know, this the climate they have created.
They were supposed to be there to serve and to protect,
it looks like
and I didn't see a single one of them lift a finger to do anything to help. What I did see was murder, and that's what I want them to be arrested and charged and convicted
some check
for.
or some counterfeit something or other. Whatever it is, it's not a murder beef, and it wasn't him. Whatever it is, they don't have nothing on the guy. Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Ready? Okay. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. We call this expecting a sign. You know, a lot of the things that we're doing, well, let's go to the early part of this. We was getting ready to go back to California in January, or at the first part of January, because I had a court date on January the 6th. I petitioned the court to show me any paperwork that they had that give Mukhtar the right to do what he was doing. Anything. You know, like they have a chain of evidence, they should also have a chain of authority. If he has the authority to get me locked up, to put me in jail 7 or 8 times, and I got the deed with my name on the deed, as the one paying the tax. It's for Masjid al-Islam, but you can see my name, my signature clearly on the deed. And it's sent to my slave address. Okay, the other thing is, if there's a chain of evidence in any criminal case, there has to be a chain of authority also. What is his chain of authority? Where did he get the authority to do what he was doing? And after I beat the case 2 years ago, where does that go? What's double jeopardy? What's all of these things? Not being tried for the same case twice, right? Anyway, so on the 3rd of January, Qasem Soleimani was assassinated. When he was assassinated, for us it pushed a button right away. The thing that we've been waiting for, that was it. Well, other people wasn't waiting for it, but once they assassinated him, once that woke up and re-woke up, and the whole issue of America being in that part of the world, the whole issue of him being on a peace mission at that time and being assassinated, the millions of people who came out for his funerals, and they had demonstrations with the bodies. They took them to Najaf and Karbala, Mohandas and Qasem Soleimani. So what developed was, we had been saying that those millions of people going to Najaf and Karbala, they're going there for a reason. They don't know why they're doing it, nor does the government. They think it's just something we're doing because of our being, our national character of Shiism. That's what they probably thinking. We didn't think that way. We said Allah got them going there. Allah is getting them ready. When Qasem Soleimani was assassinated and Brother Mohandas, their death produced the very things that they was working against. His death was more in life than he could have produced in his life. Like, for instance, he was working for unity, and that, of course, he done most of that. But what his death, his martyrdom produced was a global awakening. And that's what it did. So we held off going back to California. Before we could get ready to go again, the coronavirus kicked in. And it kicked in like, it creeped up on the people. It creeped up on the system. We said, hold it, hold it, hold it. And we saw that the people where it started was getting in control of it. They said it's, even up to now, only 200 and some people in Korea has died. 200, last night it was 268, something like that. Then died from the virus. Why? The minute somebody popped up with it, you saw the Koreans washing everything down, spraying everything. If y'all been watching the news, they got on that and they cleaned up the whole Korea, just like that. Now they got the children, yesterday re-enrolled back in school. They're going back to school again now. But only 268 people have died. Why? Because the method that they used, the process that they went to. You could see, though, China is wide open again. They say it started in China. They're trying to blame it on the Chinese. Okay, that's not going to fly, not in the world. So what we have is, in recent months, by the way, another 2 million people have filed for unemployment. That means 40 million people. Now, that's on paper, 40 million people. You have to know that those are people that were working and they could get unemployment. They was taking money out. How many Latinos do you think that was working? And they just bought all them new trucks and everything. You can see it. Just last month. Okay. How many of them was working on a job where they was taking out money for it? I would say almost none. Because although a lot of them are now contractors, they may have 5 guys working on a job. If they lucky, they took money out for 1 or 2. The other guys was working, getting paid well, but they haven't been on paper. You could imagine that that's millions. We have no idea how many. Okay, so that means that this economy is in bad shape. We don't have to go into whether they did this on purpose to themselves to transfer the money to more and more richer people. We don't have to wonder why these things are happening right now, waiting for a sign. When they put their knee on that brother and they kept it there for over 5 minutes, they intended to do that. And it was so ridiculous. That was a sign we've been waiting for right now. And I'll tell you what it means. It means a lot to how we respond to things. If you notice, no matter how bad things are or what happened in the world, even if it happened to us, we said we helped engineer this so we could prove to the world that you can survive under those conditions. That's why we did it. That's why we put up with it year in and year out. So it would be so redundant that when we present it, case is closed. There's nothing they can say. Why? Because it's the preponderance of evidence is so overwhelming that it's unbelievable. About this idea of being in control of your own life cycle and being able to manipulate the system according to where you want to go. Let's take, for instance, and let's examine ourselves. Do we know what we've been doing over the last 40 years? We would say yes. How is that verified? Well, if we told Abdul Malik, who was getting ready to become the Emir in 1987, which was 33 years ago, right, that he was who he is. We know that. We're not asking, are you? We're telling you, you are, because of your behavior over the last 7 years. We had been watching him. And everybody else in the community knew that I told him that. Well, now if we're getting ready to go into a new cycle, say at that time, we're getting ready. How well did we analyze what the environmental circumstances? What would be our stated and unstated goals? For instance, of course, shortly after we developed As-Sabiqun. Now, we did As-Sabiqun, that was 95, summer 95. Okay? What are some of the goals of As-Sabiqun? Where do you want to go? What do you want to do? What's your mission? Well, now, if you know your environment, you're going to have to structure your goals, your methods, whether stated or unstated, to get you where you want to go. Let's say our vision, our utopian vision at that time was masjid, schools, businesses, geographical integrity, living close together, acquiring property. Okay, now, if those are goals that is in Oakland and that's here, you have to add up how far did we get and how much did we accomplish for what we wanted to do. You have to ask that question. Take into consideration most utopian projects fail. They fall flat. All over the world, and there are thousands of them. The whole America in the beginning was a big utopian project. Yeah. Say like Pennsylvania. They gave that to William Penn. What did William Penn have? William Penn made a charter. Kind of, let's call it a constitution. That everybody that wants to live like this, right? Jump on the boat or whatever you got, or if you're in these colonies, a few places, come on over here. But this is what we're about. That means that's a utopian vision for what he wanted to do. Pennsylvania, they call it. That's what they call it, after William Penn. Go back to Plymouth Rock and all of that. That was 1620, right? Read the King James Bible and see what year did King James codify the King James, what version? Anybody ever see that in the King James version of the Bible? If anybody remember. That's what it says. What year? 1619. What year did the Pilgrims come over here? 1620. They just had enough time. Why? Because basically anyone that's not ready to go along with my version, that's too bad for you. Why were all the earlier colonies religious colonies? Because those religious groups, that whole Plymouth Rock crew, it's a whole religious crew. That was a religious crew. They landed and they were under the guidelines of their religion, their utopia. We're going 1 billion miles away because we don't particularly want to go along with what he's talking about, right? And they came over here. America was built off of utopian visions of people in Europe. The earlier settlers, even all up into the great land rushes and covered wagons going across the plains, homesteaders. Where does all that come from? In Europe, think about it, you worked for the landed gentry. You didn't have a chance to own land, me and you. The peasants, they didn't have a chance to earn. Who they all worked for? They rented their land from the Duke or the Earl of Nottingham, somebody, right? All of them did. The people didn't have a chance to own land. Owning land was a symbol of nobility and wealth. That's why the people run over here. Even up until the last couple of centuries ago, up until the 1800s. They didn't close the frontier in America till 1876. They didn't have the Cherokee Strip land rush until 1893. Probably saw it in Westerns. Everybody line up behind this line. They shoot off the gun and all the wagons is running, the people riding on the horses to stick a stake in the ground. Y'all probably never saw that in Westerns. But that was a Cherokee Strip, 1893. Whatever happened, you was going to get you some land. The fastest one was going to get the best land. They're going to knock their stake in the ground. Why? Because America, white folks could own land that wasn't part of the nobility. That's why the army come in, kill all the Indians, then they bring in the settlers. Why the settlers so happy? The Homesteading Act, free land. They even promised Negroes after slavery 40 acres and a mule. They never got it. They never got it. They ain't got nothing. They did go do a lot of good homesteading in Oklahoma and places like that. Yes, they did. Kansas. Let me get back to what I'm talking about. That utopian vision. Utopia just means good place. So it's a tricky word. U means good. Utopia means no place, and with the A on it means good place, but no place. That's the way the language. Try to get me to figure out the Latin and how white folks know the Greek. But it means there's a place in your mind, but in most cases it don't exist. Utopia. You know, they think of utopia as heavenly, you know. That's not utopia. Utopia is just a good place. It don't have to be the best place. It definitely is not a paradise, but it's a place where the human being, the positive outweigh the negative by huge percentiles. It's a good place, not a perfect place. Now for us, a good place meant masjid. We come to the masjid for the 5 daily prayers. Then the masjid, we had to, after that, either school or business. Because the business should take care of the school. But it's always a question which was better to start, according to our environment. The school first or the business to take care of it. We could start the school because maybe we would have enough money coming in to support the school. So we could start the business later. It's if we wanted to, it's on us. But right here, you can see it. Masjid, school, downstairs, business around, and geographical integrity. That means we own our own property. We own houses. We're going to build on the houses. If you take our school produced some of the best. Our school was the best school in D.C., hands down. All the children that was here went to college. You could probably ask around. All the kids here went to university. When they went to school, they were 2 years ahead of all the D.C. schools. 2 years ahead. And on top of that, they liked school. Everybody went here liked school. How did that happen? The environment, the teachers were polices, but they black polices, right? And a couple of immigrants. And they have an opportunity to teach the optimum type of school that they would visualize. If they was out in the, wanted to produce a perfect school, they got a chance to do it here. They got a chance to do it here. And guess what? They did it. One of our teachers, one of the best, was the daughter of a friend of mine from the islands up in Canada. How did she get here? Zafar and them was friends of mine. The brother is active at their place up in Canada. They knew what we was doing, and all of a sudden she shows up here, ready to teach. But guess what? They produced perfect little American students. Their thing said, the little pledge they made every morning, Islam is our religion, da-da-da-da, and we will die to establish Islam. You don't see none of the kids here or in Oakland. Why none of the kids come here? Because they were taught in a way, get the best out of this, but they were conditioned to go to boss man school, not to become entrepreneurs. Yeah, not free. They were taught by teachers who specialize in Uncle Tomism. They were good teachers. If they got a chance to teach, imagine if you have the freedom to teach anything, to teach in a way you want. That's what they had a chance to do here. A lot of people say, aren't you mad? Aren't you sad? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Why? Take my daughters. I already studied what happened to my sons. My sons held up very good. For about 15 years, they did good. When we got started off, they was 12, the other one was 15. So they grew up. For the first years, they stayed in the masjid with me. They was there to see it grow. They slept on the floor with me. They were there when we dug up all the insides of the masjid and put new pipes and everything in there. They was there all that time. They was there when we piped into the sewer, and I used to have a pistol because the rats would be so big, they'd come in there, and we had a box with the food and a hot plate, and they'd come in there, and bam, 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 we'd be, because see, in the country, they have a slug for rats, for like a 22. They have a slug, it's a little bitty pellet size. You shoot at rats down in the country. They're not no little sweetie pie rats either. So where I'm from, that's what you do. You shoot at them. You know them big rat traps? When them boys would snap them things, you could hear whop, whop, whop. They would still be alive for about a minute. And you would sound like somebody in there tearing up the place. Anyway, so after about 15 years, they had broken my sons down, taken them to jail, given them cases, and I prayed for them. And I got what I prayed for. I said, oh Allah, let them guys live long enough to get old enough to they can really understand what they're dealing with. You know what? I didn't ask them to stay Muslim. I didn't ask Allah to I got exactly what I prayed for. All of my son's friends was dead. Remember, they're growing up during the 80s and the 90s and the early 2000s. How many young black kids, each one of them had those photo albums of dead people. Because Oakland was like D.C. in D.C. during those years, it was 400 people dying, 450 per year. That was when D.C. only had 500,000 people. Oakland was the same way. Oakland, it was unbelievable. And the lifestyle they was living. So I got what I prayed for. I prayed that they live. Now they'll be 55 pretty soon. They'll be 51. I got what I prayed for. But both of my sons, and I forgive them, but both of my sons aid and assist the police department. Today, they aid and assist them. It's just common knowledge. It's just, they do. But they lasted 15 years. How many other people are going to last 15 years? When the police let them know the life you live, homeboy, you're going to be in jail. And it's your daddy's fault. And they're going to tell them that over and over again. Pretty soon, they know that it's my life, because they, remember, they seeing all of this. So they knew from way back then that I'm not going to change what I'm doing. And so eventually, and then they get them addicted to heroin and crack and all of that, right? So that lowers your moral standard. And if you're on the pipe, you're on the pipe and you do stuff which people do on the pipe. So they're not doing bad. So now imagine with daughters, you got daughters. Do you think I want my daughters to do the same thing I'm doing? Absolutely not. Why I don't jump up and down about it? And they act like their mama tell them to do down there. I'm happy as I can be. Imagine what would be on my mind if I had to think all the time, if I know they're going to have this guy, that guy, getting close to my daughters, they're going to have this, that, and another. Let them go to school, they're getting top straight A, They get everything from the system. Good. That's technically, this is the first time I told anybody, that's what I like that. I don't want to be worried about, you know what I mean, them and what have you. It don't make no difference whether they understand. Of course they do. They understand 100% what's going on. But they've been told that, well, if he cooperated, he would live longer. Well, they told like Fatima that she's actually said it a couple of times, that if you was what you say you are, they would kill you. Because that's what everybody see in the movies. This guy's a threat. That's right. You're just not giving your daddy enough credit for having sense. That's all. That I'm fighting the white man face to face, and I'm still here doing it. What, I'm 75. Like I tell them, I'm 75 years old. What do I? And this ain't just started, and I unfold the pictures. I say, I've been doing this all my life. Something is going on. So, all of my family have been incorporated into that system. That's okay. It's fine. It's actually perfect. Because there's no way they could get on my team and survive, right? If I got 24/7, they're going to get 24/7, and they're not experienced with it. It ain't nothing to me. I've been doing it 50 years, 60 years. I've been doing this all my life. I'm used to it. I like it. Nobody else do, though. You want the police going through all of your stuff, taking pictures of you, following you around all day long? If you go get an account at the bank, the police, the FBI, the feds come tell them, close it out. I don't care what you do. If you get a car, you have to buy 10 of them. Why? Because they're going to pull this part. Who, you think they can stand that? No, they can't stand it. I can, because I like it. Another thing, we have made the proper analysis. What's been happening to us is good. Why? Because this is what we expect. So, our utopia, we got it. We got the property, we got the masjid, we got all of that. And we had him pay for all of that. Paid for most of it. Yes, he did. Boss man paid for most of this. How? By managing our income. He didn't manage as much then, but like if we put $500,000 into our school, right? That means that, well, I'm just saying $500,000, it could be much more. That means we have to understand and make him understand that as long as he has his employees here, right, and they're going where they want to, they're taking me where they want to take me, right? Remember, all this didn't change till a couple of years ago. When? What happened a few years ago? I said, well, boss man, that's it. I'm taking over the show. Everybody packed up and left. Utopia is possible even if they hired the people as actors. They were acting, right, according to our utopian vision. Good place. Masjid, school, business, living close together. We are property. That was our vision. Technically, it's still our vision, but it's on a higher level now. Okay. So, if property in California, and we done engineered the system to be so much on the surface and to do things illegal and all of that so much that it's in everybody's face. Okay. Remember, we have the white man on the end of the line. He don't have us on the line. But everybody else, it looks like he got us on the line. It looks like they're doing this to you, they're doing that to you. For what? You would be shocked how fast I go to sleep when I'm at home. I don't even remember unless I messed up and drank some coffee too late or something like that. And was just thinking and sitting there and pull out my pen and start writing and don't go to sleep for a while. None. No problema at all. Never. Well, never in the last 55, 60 years. The closer we get to this, to today, the better life is getting. I want to say, the closer it gets to right now, the better it gets. Okay, now, waiting and expecting a sign. What happened to our brother up in Minneapolis was a sign for us to wrap up everything here, do what we got to do, but we have now our details for moving forward. We have our dates, we have everything we have, right? It's not like we were not going to move if we didn't get that sign. We were going to do what we're doing, but this is a clear sign. The murder of our brother up there, what was his name? Floyd something or other. So we've been waiting and expecting a sign. The systematic oppression of black people and people of color, the tyranny of the system, out and out tyranny, the stormtrooperism, the militarization of the police departments. You know, the police don't look like police for the last 25, 30 years. They look like stormtroopers. They look like, they dress like, they got body armor, they got all of that. That's not a police department. And they don't act like, they act like stormtroopers. When they come to a black person's house, they come kicking in the door, right? Scaring all the children to death. They are stormtroopers, just like Nazis. They've evolved this idea. They've developed it like this. When we come up, you couldn't do that. The police had to knock on your door. Knock, knock, knock. Who is it? The police. Bam, 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 bam. People jumping out of the window, whatever. They had to knock on the door. They couldn't bust your door down. Okay. Stormtroopers, on the other hand, have the right to break down your door. An old Nazi symbol of oppression is asking people for their papers. You probably haven't watched them old movies. Papers, please. And the people are nervous. Papers, please. Papers, nigga, papers. Let's have your insurance, driver's license, and whatever else they ask you for. What do you mean? Insurance. They didn't pass the insurance law till 40 years ago. Who was it for? For the people that own insurance companies. You have to have insurance. Right? Okay. High crime neighborhoods. Whose neighborhoods are those? Me and your neighborhood. What happens in those neighborhoods? The threshold for the last 50 years, the threshold for searches and seizures, Fourth Amendment guarantees protection, right, is lower in those neighborhoods. So they have used guidelines and procedures, police procedures, to circumvent the Constitution. Because those things are all legal in the Constitution. And with us, they do all that stuff. They take paper, they take anything they want from me for a while. You can't do that as Fifth Amendment something. Without a bill, you can't confiscate property without a bill of particulars and itemizing what you've taken. And the places you're going to search, They don't do that to me. When they arrest me, they take me straight out of the building and straight to the police. You can hear on the recording sometime, I'm telling them, I have $10,000 in that masjid right there. You got me handcuffed. If you don't let me go get my money and put it in my pocket, that money is going to be gone. Of course, technically it was 11. I was just counting, where they have 10,000 a thing. Then you have another 1,000 or 1,200 that you use for stuff. Islamophobia, right? Where do they get that from? Everybody is afraid of who? Muslims and Islam. Because Islam is bad. Well, where did they get that from? They got World Trade Center 1, 93, World Trade Center 2, 2001, and all of those other bombings in between. They did most of them and blamed them on us. Or Saudi Arabia did the big one, and they still blame it on us. Saudi Arabia, 15 of the people from Saudi Arabia, and the court in New York gave some of the money that Iran an escrow up there, gave their money. The federal court gave the people Iranian money. They didn't have nothing to do with it. Why? Because the people are asleep. People are, you got to think about the media. That's why that white boy, what did all the people say that was black? We having a peaceful demonstration, da-da-da-da-da. What is the white boy doing? Rise up. Can you see it now? Yeah, running. He's calling the people, right? Come on, rise up. What does that mean? If people, even though they have a right to demonstrate, we have understood that peaceful demonstrations get a lot more done than throwing rocks and everything. Number one, you don't have a plan. You're acting out. That's something we don't do. We don't act out. That's where delay come in. That's how we've been able to beat the system. We slap the system around. Because when they do something, we delay so long that they done went somewhere else. They got another thing that they're doing and they done forgot the other thing they started. We don't react on that stuff for months and years. That's delay. If the people jump up yesterday and today and burning stuff down,
Find
who's
joy.
doing that? When we study
Find new
COINTEL
perspectives.
program, who
Find the bright
manages
side.
COINTEL program?
You can find
What do
it
they
all
do? They
if you
send
just know where to look.
saboteurs,
Etsy.
snitches,
Find
and
joy.
informers,
So we are here outside
agent
the third
provocateurs
precinct
to
here in
provoke
Minneapolis,
our
including
people,
Tibet.
to mislead our people. That's what they've done.
Throwing water bottles.
That's what the white boy is doing. You can see him. He ain't hiding. He got his masses down.
To everyone
Come
navigating
on,
these uncertain
rise
times.
up. If black people say that this is a peaceful demonstration, they don't know who's causing the trouble in their ranks. And after they cause the trouble, they say, well, the people were angry and mad. But they didn't start out to have an angry demonstration. They started out to have a peaceful demonstration. So the government agents get out in front of our movement all the time because the people don't have that much experience. You got to realize by the time you get experience in this stuff, you're usually dead or you're in prison or, right? We're the only ones out here. We're the only ones out here that have the experience and the time in to understand what everything means. And we got the rule down. We waiting. We're going to delay this, homeboy. I'm sorry. I'm not responding. When we respond, it'll be when we feel like it, when we get ready, under our circumstances. You never let boss man control you or manipulate you. Why? Because he's going to manipulate you into a bad position. We always call it shaping and herding. You shape the behavior of the people and you herd them like cattle along the road to their own destruction. Civil liberties out the window. Stormtrooperism in. High crime neighborhood developed by the system. If the number or statistics of whites and blacks using marijuana in America are about equal, white folks use it, black folks use it. Go back and see how many people, white people, have been arrested for marijuana, right? And see how many black people are arrested for marijuana or anything else, right? Okay. So we know that we do live in a constitutional dictatorship. Constitutional dictatorship. But what we have to do is constantly study and review the systematic injustice. See, whatever we produce, racism, intercommunal harmony is natural for us. It's a natural part of whatever system we develop. But the system used racial injustice and all of that to divide, conquer, and rule the people. Okay. Accountability. We believe in Allah, we believe in Islam as the method, so we believe in a system of accountability. We're going to be held accountable for what we do in this life. Now, there's a thing about this vision of the future, a good vision of the future. And we'll move into that. In the meantime, remember, 40 million people on paper are out of work today. That's 40 million on paper. We believe in accountability, that what we're going to do, what we do, we're going to be accountable for it. If we want a good society or utopianism and all of that, it sounds funny, sounds nice, but there's certain good points and there's bad points about this thing, right? You know, Adolf Hitler had a utopian view for the German people. What was his utopian view? Have you ever heard of Lebensraum? Lebensraum, that's living space. The Germans wanted more living space for the German people. But that living space that Adolf Hitler, he looked all over there and all the way to Russia to import all of those blonde-haired, blue-eyed white people from Germany, which he wasn't one of them, to have living space, Lebensraum. That's one of the things, when you talk about utopianism, if you talk about utopian community, let's say small-scale utopian community, or commune, or a group of people decide to buy a certain property together, right? And that will be communally owned. It might be for many reasons. We want to live in a feeling touchy community where you don't have to lock your windows and doors all the time. There's people that have, there's over 360 of those types of community, 365 right here in America. And this is not new. This is all over the world. This has been going on. You know, believe it or not, there's a place in Brazil called Fordlandia, from Henry Ford. Henry Ford knew he was going to have to get a lot of rubber for his car, right? So he built in the 1920s a place down in the Amazon jungle called Fordlandia, right there where all the rubber trees are there, right? So he could build an ideal community down there. They do ideal work for him. And you know, Henry Ford is the one that built the, what is that, assembly line? Just put the car on the thing, it's cranking on down, put the frame on, put the cab on, put the wheels on, put the motor in. Henry Ford invented that. That made him sharp, quick. Before, everybody they had built 10 cars, and everybody was over there building shoot, Henry Ford say. So the point I'm making is, Henry Ford was innovative. So he said, hey, all the cars need rubber. Why don't we build a place down there in the Amazon jungle? He looked around, where did they get all this rubber from? Well, they get it over in Asia. They get it we can get some right down here. Right? Firestone got a place over in Liberia and other places. Amazon jungle, we'll get it from Amazon. He built Fort Landia. It lasted a few years, but it was a utopian vision. There's utopias all here in America in the 1820s. They've had communes. You know, in the 60s, you ever heard about the hippie communes? Communes, where all the white kids would get together in a group and they would go out into the country. And they would rough it, as they used to say. And they would build a commune there. A commune was a place where they wanted. They didn't like the world that they was living in. They didn't feel like they had enough power. Well, many of them in the communes had already came from demonstrations, challenges the system. They said, bump this. And they retreated to the woods. It's not bad. Okay. But utopia is shadowy, like, you know what I mean? It is, it's shadowy. It's just around the corner, just over the hill, right? I don't know if y'all ever read that thing from 2000, One More Mountain to Climb or something, one more. That was, yeah. That was 18 years ago. You could tell it was utopian writing. That's what we was writing about. At that time, if we kept As-Sabiqun together like we had it, that was our next shift in to what we're talking about now. But it was an interruption. It's only 18, 20-year interruption. When they came here for that program, they acted in such a way that we said, that's the last of those, that's the last national thing we're going to have. That was 18 years ago. But it was a good sign. We saw that we're going to have a change of pace. And that change of pace will knock out all of this, what we're doing. Because at that time, the next stage is going to demand not acting utopia. Because remember, when the government hire the people and they tell them to come there with us, they're going to act like they're, you know, try to fool us. They're actors. But if you can act like utopian, you can actually do it. You can do it. White folks call it faking it till you're making it. When you see white folks walking up and down the street here, they are scared to death, but you could never know because they told them don't show fear. Why no white folks show any fear? Because that's what they taught. They taught it to them when you go to Africa and all them people running around talking about ooga booga. You act with a stern upper lip, right? You don't show fear. That's what they taught them. Them people walking up to that school, that chip school, are scared to death. There's niggas is natives out here. Anybody would be scared of them, unless they crazy. Of course, this is the safest place they can be. They're safer in the black neighborhood than they are in the white neighborhood. Because somebody might attack them out there. Ain't nobody going to attack them here. You ain't heard nobody. All this, everywhere. They don't do it. Okay. So, utopia is not fictitious place. It's not, it's real, it's just like, but how much you willing to pay for it, right? How much sacrifice, how much time, how much energy you willing to put into it. And utopia is like a business. 95% of them fail. Businesses, 95% of all businesses that they start fail. Yes, they do. And now with Chrono running around, it's probably 98, 99%. Okay. So they have many types of utopias: small scale, vision of the good life, little village projects, collective ownership and all of that, you know, they have that. Because some people don't like what they have here. They'd heard about something different, or they remember the little town they was from. Everybody knew each other, right? And even in our neighborhood, right here in D.C., Oakland, 60 years ago, you didn't lock your doors. For what? You know, next door neighbor was a Negro. This was your refuge. Your danger was out there amongst white folks, not here. When you came here, it was refuge. The system changed it around, where you be safe when you go out amongst white folks. And if you hear a noise behind you, you look back and you say, oh, they white, that's okay. It's a nigga. Break out and run in your own neighborhood. Well, they up to something, right? That's what they trained. They rearranged everything. They have the control of society, so they're going to fix it to where they are beneficiaries of everything. Okay. Utopians identify problems: economic injustice, addiction to drugs and all that. But in order to have a utopia, the one thing that people say is you should have good intentions. But now the white folks say hell is paved, the road to hell is paved by what? Good intentions. That's not true. Okay. There are certain types of utopias. One is top down. That's the big people. They got power, they got the money, they're going to establish utopia from the top down. That's like Adolf Hitler. You know, top down. They got the other grassroots, going to start from the bottom up. Then they got other types that are escapism. They show you a utopia, but you can only, it's commercial. Disneyland, you go there, right? You go to Disneyland, if you can afford it, right? You can go there and you take your children there and you'll enjoy that fantasy land where everything is happy, everybody jumping around happy, right? For however long you can stay there. But eventually you're going to come back to the real world. That's a false utopia. It's something they produce. It's commercialized. You have to be very careful about the type of, you don't want escapism. That's the commercial thing. You don't want one that is full of purges. You notice they got these movies out like Purge. That's cleansing. They got a okay society that every once a week you could kill everybody. Purge. That's cleansing, right? That's what they say. Cleansing the society. We don't need all of that. Why? We got the police. They're going to cleanse niggas of the society. They're going to send them to the penitentiary, right? They're going to be gone. They're gone. Okay. Killing, that's another purge, you know what I mean? So technically, And coronavirus, think about it. Who is it purging? Is it getting rid of white folks? Not that many. Are these 100,000 people that are dead now? I'll bet you at least 50,000 of them is black or Latino or Asian. And the other ones that die are old white folks. They're not going to pay no more into the system, right? And ain't nobody suspicious about all of that. They're not suspicious about it. We are very suspicious, but we can't do nothing about it right now. But we're headed to do something. All the stuff we're talking about, we already been plugged in. We're already into what we're doing. Now we're just clarifying some of the issues. Okay. So, we're going to deal with prototypes. Now, when I go to California this time, I'm going to stop at least at 5 places along the way. I'm not going I-70 and all the big highways. There's a highway next to every national highway. Like I-70, right? I-70. You got 40. That's the old national highway. Like north and south. You got them north and south, you got them east and west. If you're down at, take Highway 90 and Highway 80, it goes east and west. Highway 90 goes through New Orleans and all of that, and it winds up in LA. It's the old national route. Route 66, y'all might have heard of Route 60. Started in Chicago, goes down, and it goes down, and it goes across the country. Winds up close to LA. That's the highway, the famous highway all of us took from Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas. All of us that went out that way, Route 66. It wasn't no I-40 and I-10 then. They were smaller highways. Like Route 1 goes right up through the cities. All the highways in the old days went through the cities. There wasn't that many cars, so it was okay. Route 1 starts down in Florida, and it goes all the way up to Canada. But Route 1 comes through D.C. It goes through Baltimore, right? It goes through Wilmington, Delaware. It goes through New York City. It goes through everything going north. So does Highway 95. But 95 is a superhighway. It's out there, and you jump on that and you zoom up there. It's not, it used to go around all the big cities. Highways east and west, Highway 80, Highway 90, way up there. 70, right out here. 40. Then at Atlanta, you can catch 20 and go all the way through Texas, and it'll join in at 10. You go from Florida all the way to California on I-10, down there. The odd numbers go east and west. The even numbers go north, the odd, even numbers go east and west. 10, 70, 90, 80, east and west. The odd numbers on the west coast, 5, 95, right? Highway 5 goes from Canada all the way down to Mexico. Highway 15, same route. 25 35, it may not go, yes, it goes down in Texas all the way up, but it joins in sometimes with 35 and 45 and da-da-da-da, but it's the central route. 55, same way, north and south. 65, all the same, north and south. 75, Atlanta, actually Florida, Atlanta, and on up to Cleveland and those places. And 95, that's what we got right here. Okay, this is the point. If you drive those new highway systems, closed out a lot of towns. Closed them out. On 66, you can drive down 66. They used to be full of hotels and motels. When you put Route 40 or whatever it was, then all the hotels are over there now. Your hotel is old. Your town that used to depend on that, you go through all those towns from here all the way to California. There are small towns that are starving for people. All the young people won't stay there. They go to the big city. The towns are emptying out. No, they ain't emptying out. They've emptied out. Now, what do we have to do with that? In the big cities, we have our project, masjid, business, schools, living close together. The same one we've been had. We haven't changed it. We haven't changed it. For America, they gave William Penn a charter, right? Da, 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 da. I'm going to talk to white people. I'm going to do it this time. About reviving your town, reviving America. Those towns still have empty houses. The schools are depopulated, right? Here's what we tell them. We have to sell these white folks. I'm going to go and talk to a couple of mayors or whoever, city, on the way to California this time. I'm going to have an outline for a charter. Remember now, utopia. Utopia analyzes the problems that the society is in, and they have to have, hopefully, some prototypes. Prototypes. Okay. Try to follow me. City life is almost unlivable in some places. The money it costs. Good God Almighty. But guess what? All those little towns have to offer housing, almost cheap. They'll give it to you. Schools, you get enough people, then you can have some say-so over your school. It's kind of like reverse covered wagonism. It's kind of like reverse pioneerism. The white folks went out there the first time to take lands from the Indians. They got their whole system built up. And now, after so many generations, they're all in the city, their children are gone, and they can't afford their farms. Think about it. You see it all the time. White folks can't afford their farms. Their cities are crumbling. They're little towns. Nice little infrastructure, schools, churches. Some of them will become mosques, no problem. We'll talk to Mayor so-and-so. We got a little project here you might like to think about. Number one, if you had a little charter, kind of utopian charter, little charter for your city, your little town. What you want to do is you want to bring people back to your city. There are people dying to come back, but they don't know you're here and you don't know what to tell them. Number one, freedom. If you go to those little towns, you run the city, right? You can almost cut yourself off from the federal government because everything will be state level on down. And if you have certain guidelines in your town, right, that your town is utopian. And now, guess what? All of you people, you can do now most of your work out there, right? Out there. What do you have? A quiet neighborhood? Very few police. And you train the police, retrain the police. Because the mayor's in on it, the whole city council, those up that's left. We're going to make new guidelines for our city. We're going to bring people back here. You want your utopia? Here it is. Yeah, here it is. Quiet, peaceful. Remember, this is America, the center of America. Drug addiction. Half of the kids out there in the country is using dope, but we'll solve our own problems, right? All the things that you need. You want a farm. You want to live on a farm, but you don't want to. You want to do your internet stuff. You want to type in everything. But you can buy a farmhouse for probably $20,000 with all the functions there and fix it up like you want. It'll be a big joint too. Yeah, you can buy that now. These middle class people inside of it, they can buy that stuff. And they can work out there. And their charter will design the kind of city they want. Every one of them won't be the same. But what do we want? We want the federal government off our back. We want to be able, sustainable environment, right? Sustainable environment. So out there, if you bought a big farm, you could take a few acres and rest of it you rent it to a big company or whoever you want. And then those 5, 10, 15 acres, what do you raise? You raise organic food, right? Well, you don't have to raise nothing. You can take the big farmhouse, let the big company farm all around, and you just take 2, 3 acres that you live on, and you rent the rest out. It ain't gonna cost you nothing. The farmhouse out in the country, you just have to drive through the country. And all the time, I would always go off the main highway and them little towns. They're idyllic. They're idyllic. But they're closing down. Can't nobody afford to live in the city. Suppose 50% of the people that can afford to do it, that's what this coronavirus did. That's why it put the last few touches on this. All we got to do is sell those people what they have. You're 40, 50, 60 miles, 100 miles from a big settlement. Wherever you go, you got something close by. You got wooded area. Hey, man, you got lakes and streams and fishing and whatever you want. at 1/3 the price. At 1/3 the price. To live that type of life, a better life, all the people on the city council got to do is make up flyers, and this is what we have to offer. But make guidelines. This is not for big rich companies that's going to buy up our town and sell it for all that money. This is not a economic project, although there's a part of economic. This is a dreamland, vision, quality of life project, to where we're not going to let no big old companies come in and buy up our town and re-enslave us. Why? We sell the people on freedom. Americans still believe in it. Freedom. Freedom from the government. The only government you come in contact with is your local, little bitty, friendly city government that you didn't design. You can design the government to, if you get behind on taxes, you get 5 years to catch up or something, so you don't lose your, right, with no interest, because you designed the thing in case somebody have bad luck. If you're in that friendly environment, right, and people know problems that each other's having, they're able to imagine the feeling of security that they have. And they've lived in the city. They're able to do, and don't worry about it. Entertainment and all of that, you can pipe that in. You don't have to be in those cities. Well, you want to go visit the jungle? Hey, sweetie pie, let's go and visit Chicago for a couple of days and just go crazy. Go in there and it's, boy, I'm glad to get out of there. Right? Who the hell wants to live there? Tell the truth. Think about it. This is all across the United States. All across the United States. That's what we're going to sell white folks on. That's what we're going to do now. That's prototype utopianism. Remember, our big stage is we want to join together in the, what do we call, influence in the direction of change. It's a big giant step. We can do this now. This is the prototype. This proves that it can happen. And then for Negroes in the city, that's it. School, business, we're going to do that. We don't care about what boss man says. Remember, what's the name's statement? Has America they lost something or other, whatever it was. Have America lost it, and can Asia save it or something? I want to tell you a secret about America and Americanism. I knew it for myself, but when I got to Algeria, and all the radicals was there, Pete O'Neill told me, he said, all of us stood up for the flag when we was kids. All of us, they were Americans, and they knew the Declaration of Independence, and they knew it, but they wasn't getting it. That's what they was mad about. You didn't live up to your thing. And guess what? I said, that's right. You can tell I know every date, everything about America. D-Day, June the 6th, 1944, anything you ask me, I know it about America. Why? Because I'm a doggone American. And let me give you a little something that will give you a little concrete idea, and then we'll close. When in the course of human events it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands and have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which laws of nature and nature's God entitled them. A decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. We hold these truths, y'all have heard that, to be self-evident that all men are created equal. They are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights. Among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Doesn't that sound good? Now, let me read a little bit more, and then I'll give you a little commentary. That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. That whenever any form of government becomes destructive to these ends, it is the rights of the people to alter or to abolish it and institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such forms as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Now, let's go back up here. Whenever any form of life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness, jumping up and down, that whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it and institute new government. This is the Declaration of Independence. That's nice. So everybody got a right by God from life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And it's the duty of the government to help you along with that. That's what the government's job is. And any time a government don't do that, then it's your right to abolish that government. That's where we come in. That's where the Negro come in. We all raised on this crap, this stuff. We was raised on it. I remember all of this stuff from civics in the 8th grade and 9th grade. I remember all of it. I just remember all of it. And I just went on about it and about my business. And then it hit you. Wait a minute. America's not like that. They're denying our rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And any time a government don't do that, well, then it's the duty or the right of the people to change that government. That's what the rebellion was about. The rebellion, most of the people in front of it knew all of this stuff. In the front of their mind or the back of their mind. And that's what they was doing. They said, wait, hold it. Y'all just said such and such and such. Declaration of Independence is a good document. But you have to remember, all the people that signed this was mostly wealthy people and what have you. Benjamin Franklin was the first millionaire in America. I don't want to go into all of this, why we want to be free from England. They list all the things that King George was doing, passing laws that kept them all messed up, did other laws that give them the runaround to make them lose hope in the future. You know what I mean? Quartering of troops, if you don't know what that is, that's putting troops in your house. Quartering of troops. You have to take care of them. That's why the Constitution have no quartering of troops. You know, okay. This is a wonderful document. There's another document called the Constitution. It's written after they have fought Britain, after they've got their liberation. And the people that died in that conflict was mostly the common man. Minutemen, they used to call them. The reason you have number 2, you got life, liberty, you got the right to freedom of speech, press, religion, and association. Then you got the right to bear arms. Why? Anybody know why? Because every American in the old days had weapons. They fought Indians with them. They kept niggers in line with them. They did everything. And remember, at that time, there was a lot of deer and stuff running around. The people hunted. Most of the meat that they ate in those days, the people hunted. Most of the meat we ate in the country was rabbits, coons, all that stuff was running around. And fish. We went fishing. And everybody else go fishing to catch them a big fish. We went fishing to make sure we caught some food. And we had right across my house a watermelon patch. And it was my older brother's job to keep the cows out of the watermelon patch. Why? Because they walked through there with them big old feet and bust the watermelons. Right? But we were self-sufficient. The difference between the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution is this. The Constitution is written by people after they done won the war. And they're all wealthy people and landowners. George Washington was the governor of Virginia. What's her name? Had all the money in Pennsylvania up there. And all of them, big shots. The Constitution was written to keep now the people keep the people in pocket. And then, you ever heard of the Whiskey Rebellion and Shays Rebellion? 1792, there's a white folk song that I ain't paid no taxes since 1792. White folks in those days all made whiskey. Whiskey was an extra, you made whiskey. And then they had the Whiskey Rebellion. Why? The government wanted to pay taxes on whiskey? You must be crazy. They call it the Whiskey Rebellion. That's the first rebellion the white folks had against the Constitution. When it come out, now we didn't want independence, but now we want to keep you in line. Now they were the kings, they would keep y'all in line. Y'all done won and did all the fighting and dying. It's like rich people all over the world. But the colonies said, we're not taking that thing. And they come up with a Bill of Rights. That we got certain rights. That's the first 10 amendments to the Constitution, right? Look at what they got. Freedom of speech, press, and religion, right? Number 2, the right to bear arms. To protect yourself against your neighbor? Absolutely not. To protect yourself against who? The government. In the news, they don't talk about that. Oh, the guns are shooting at you. Hey, you better keep your guns, white folks. Oh, you smart white folks that are kind of dumb sometimes. Got all the guns. Y'all know what's going on. But a lot of your middle-classy, doty-woty white folks, they believe that we got to stop the children from getting shot. Well, then tell the government to stop shooting them. If they got 9/11 and all that stuff to set up the Muslims, what do you think? Who you think they're going to have shooting all the white children? The government to take their guns away. That's the whole thing. Take them white folks' guns because they know why that's in there. That's what they know. You ask any NRA or any Minuteman. They call themselves Minutemen sometimes. Why? Because you can get them together in a minute. All they have to do is get their powder, get their such and such, throw it over, and they can be off to defend the village or whatever right away. Okay. That old spirit, we want to rekindle the pioneer spirit in America. For us, we're going to do probably most of our work in the cities, but some Muslims should go to the countryside. Just imagine. You get together with a group of people. They got a town there. You contact the town. You tell them, we want to bring 100 people out to your town. Now, there's certain things will go with that. The curriculum in the school. If we don't change the curriculum, we could at least have the school buildings for 3 hours a week, 3 nights a week. For what? Like they do in South Africa, to teach the children Islam in a regular school building. So they can get the Islamic teaching and tutoring, all of that. They can do what they want. They got 3 hours, they got 9 hours a week to do it. There's a lot of teaching you can do in that period. And maybe one day on the weekend, that could be a part of the clause. So you don't scare the white folks too much. We're going to come and take over your town. What? And half of them is they're white folks that don't have a lot of contact with us, so some of them do. But anyway, you sell them on the idea. And then the white folks have already come up with the utopian style. Call it a contract, a city constitution, whatever you want to call it. The police are there for a certain reason. We're going to assume that the people are good here. So the police are counselors and problem solvers. They're not here to arrest people and beat them upside the head. In emergency, if somebody got to be arrested, just got to be arrested, then okay, it's okay. The ordinances and the rules and the regulations are set up to make it easy for people to live a good life without, can you imagine the pressures that people are living under today? They're living under so much ridiculous, unnecessary pressure. This is our first step toward utopia. They're prototypes. That's part of our big struggle. That's part of what we're pushing. We're pushing that. Now, you all know about the Muhammad Ali, Jack Johnson type of, that's been our policy. Okay, we're going to alter that policy. Anybody ever heard of Johnny Appleseed? Johnny Appleseed, the guy that would always be on the outside of town in the dump, going through there, getting out apple seeds, getting apples, old rotten apples, there's good seeds. And he planted apples all over America. Yeah, he planted apple trees all over. It's Johnny Appleseed. That's all he did. Other people would call him a bum. He didn't have nothing, but that was his mission. Can you imagine the apple trees all out in the woods and everywhere that this guy planted? Johnny Appleseed. So you can see we're Americanizing things here. That's our new policy. We're spreading good ideas for America. They want us to do the opposite. They want us to see that guy getting with the police with his knee on the guy's neck. They want us all mad. You don't know who's doing that. That could be they doing that on purpose. Police he's too calm and relaxed. I'm just doing this. You don't know what his promise is. He might be committed to do it. That's what I'm committed to doing that. You don't know what white people behind him paid him to do that, organized him to do that. He was doing that. The other white boy was calling everybody, come on, come on, come on. You could see him. He's calling everybody to be disruptive. If they're disruptive enough, no matter what you do to cause confusion and make sure there's no focus and no direction. They want to take our mind off all this fitna that's going on because they're doing some mean stuff right now. Remember, we was talking just the other day about, let's say, black people in the movement, black people in the movies. Have you noticed that in the movies, in the modern movies, the last few years, most of the stars are immigrant blacks. Marshall Ali, Idris Elba, right? Mountain Between Us, all of those movies. All those guys. And until you go do the stormtrooper that gets the white girl on something or other. Star Wars, from England. All of them are immigrants. 12 years a slave. Why they didn't hire some of the Negroes to do good programs on that? Why they didn't do that? Why they had an African do it? They let him make it. They let him do the whole show. It's replacement. They're replacing Negroes. Watch out now. You got to watch this. They're replacing Negroes. They're taking Negroes back 50 years. The past, they want to hand it to Malcolm X. They got new programs on Malcolm X. Martin Luther King, you see him all day, every day, to keep us back there in the past and to give the future to immigrant Muslims because they'll be happier and more willing to put up with it. Although they might have immigrated to Europe and then to here, but still, when you giving somebody something and they don't understand that they being manipulated, so the people manipulating this have the power to do this. And there ain't nobody else in America telling nobody why this is happening. The Negro that comes through America, through slavery, has a bone to pick with America. An immigrant that comes here right now from Sudan, from anywhere, right? You notice the Africans don't come here. They used to a little bit, but they all go out to PGMA and other places. Why they go there? Why? Because somebody done told them where to go. Stay away from the Negro. They out there long enough, they'll look at us different. The Shell gas station right up there, owned by Sudanese, they drove taxi cabs, they did this, that, they gave that, and they got a station up there, and they deserve it. The Negroes hanging around their station, begging for money, and they're troublemakers. The Negroes that go out to all the big mosques all around everywhere, what are they? Beggars and troublemakers. That's who go out to all the institutions. Eventually, even the African will look at us as like, man, America's got it going on. Y'all just lazy and don't see. You think it? You go out there and look at whoever they voting for. I saw a guy's name was Muhammad Ali. Right out there. You see that sign? Right there. But it's a lot. You got to be fast. A lot of the people running for office now are African immigrants. And the people know what they're doing. An immigrant, no matter where he immigrated from, is happy to be here. Me and you not happy to be here. That'll be a future contention of divide, conquer, and rule. They'll divide up the Negro that's been here. And remember, they'll engineer this voting and all this other stuff. They'll give it to the immigrant Negro. Yes, they do. They will. You know, in Africa, one of the biggest things about colonialism, always give the minority tribe the power. Never give the majority tribe the power. In your missionary schools and all that, it was the minority tribe. Why? Because if the majority tribe got all that stuff, they could fight you. That's why there's so much turmoil in Africa. Because the people that they left in charge was all minorities. And the majority is looking at them like, okay, let's ask another question. If the Japanese would have won World War II, who do you think they would have came to help them manage America? Ooh, just think about it. Think. Niggers. They would have had to. Because the white people are loyal to this da-da-da-da-da, but you got niggas picking cotton and they know all about boss man. Right? They know everything about boss man. They work in the kitchen, they feed his children, they got the whole show down. Who would they have made administrators? Negroes. Of course. The Germans would have did the same thing. If the Germans and the Japanese split up half America, they would have did the same thing. It's a colonial policy. Give the minority tribe the power. Don't give the majority tribe the power because they could fight you. Yeah. All right. There's a lot of strife like that. I don't know if you knew about Mau Maus and Kikuyus. Like right now, even in Kenya, a lot of the people that are, first it was the majority brothers, and then after a while, people start easing in, and all of a sudden, things are changing. The minority tribes that immigrate to South Africa, you hear about the riots and they burn Somali stores, because the minority goes in and opens a store. And pretty soon, the other people get jealous and mad. Why don't they open a store? Simple as that, right? Okay, divide, conquer, and rule. We have to be careful about that. They're doing it right now. All the stuff that we see in the news, delay on it, wait on it. Never run out and start burning nothing down and being mad. Let the people with a little experience that say, we don't want all that stuff. It's a peaceful demonstration. And there's the white boy. LA is the same. LA, where they had 2 police cars attacked, they show that. They show it over and over again. Black lives matter. Black lives do matter. But please, not as many white folks as to love black folks, right? If you love us, You could help us in many ways. All right? You don't need to be out there hollering, come on, burn, baby, burn, and all that crap. You got to remember, our people are losing their ability to grasp a comprehensive picture of what's going on. They're not doing it. That's our job. It's our job. It's our job to teach other people the stuff that we're learning here. That's part of our major job. Because we have to develop, okay. The outline of, there's three things. Exposure to the system. We've already done that. We've been exposed, and we have and we're showing the world that the system can throw everything at you, including the kitchen sink, and you can survive and thrive. You just got to relax. You got to have, and you can learn. See, we're teaching people about self-image. This ain't new. We've been talking self-image for 50 years. That's what I got the old from 81 and all that self-image psychology, all that stuff. We've been talking about that, but on a different level now. To teach people self-esteem, self-image psychology, how you see yourself is how you're going to act. What you believe about yourself is what you will produce. The level that you see yourself on, you're going to wind up somewhere. The goal that you're aiming at, you will either hit that goal or somewhere in that direction. Right? So exposure to the system is what we have been doing. We wanted to go through this period, whether it was an extra 20 years or 30 years. We say we did extra 20 years, but it's to show the people. You don't have to be afraid of boss man. You don't have to get mad at boss man. The big boss man, that's who he is. But the other people are having as much trouble as you almost. The white people, the Latino, the American people. The system is racist, institutional racism. But you can see what they showing all the movies, TV. I bet you half the people, half the commercial have a black man and a white woman, or a white woman and a black man. You see these two commercials? And half the people in the commercials is curly-headed yellow Negroes, right? That's who you see. The biggest group of people in America, I mean, the children, is mixed race. One of the biggest. You can see it. How yellow people used to be very special and rare almost. Not now. Everybody is yellow. And far as black people, y'all is brown and I'm a tinge. I'm dark brown, not black like, you see them pictures of niggas in slavery? Them niggas was black. We brownish looking. That's the ones that's in their 50s and 60s. But now the new Negro, and don't go to California. The people are different. It's not, the people are not racist now. It's not the people. It's the institutions. The institutions are pure racist. The legal institutions, the police institutions, they're racist. But the people, and they choose people to go in them systems, they got a racist test. Why are all they shooting Negroes all the time? Because they give them a test to shoot Negroes. That's the test. If you don't pass that test, I don't want you. You ain't going to shoot no Negroes. Right. 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 They are dark black targets. All he do is gun, and they open. Hey man. Anyway, so exposure to the possibilities. That's what we're doing. We're doing it. We're not doing. I'm not Donald Trump. We're doing a great job. We're not doing bad. We're not doing bad because we're still here. That in itself. We still own our property. We thought we was gonna have to go all the way back to sleeping at what it says, sleeping on the bridge. We don't have to. We're starting from here. We're starting from a big time. And we're going on the way, all the stuff, the prototypes for white people, that already exists. All they got to do is change their psyche. And all of them don't have to do it. Like I say, I'm going to visit 5 places. When I go down to Florida or anywhere else, I'll drive off on Highway 1 and drive through them little towns. When I come back, I'm going to come back I-10, the lower route, Route 66. And I'm going to stop in some of them places. I know places right now that have closed down that are still pretty good. Closed down whole motels. A lot of them. When we get our zillions of dollars, we might buy them up right there in the white folks and get into, let's get back, remember, the white folks want to save their town, right? You need more people. So you got to attract the people. What do you have? We got mountain streams, we got this, we got that. And you got no police brutality. You train your police to be counselors, not arresters. I'm the police here. I got authority. Hey, you guys had an argument. Just sit down and talk this over. Man, his wife. Suppose you come into a man's house, he arguing with his wife, and you take over his house. He gonna be boiling mad, right? He gonna be boiling mad. Suppose you come in, hey, you guys having an argument. Let's talk this over. Let's work this out. Right? The police aren't trained to be counselors. And the police call somebody, he's stealing out of my store. Okay, what did he steal? Or why did you steal it? Or did you steal it? Let's resolve this. Do you want this man to go to jail and go through the whole court? Do you know how much it costs to send that nigga to court? Right? And then to jail? You know where your tax money is going? Not to health care. It's going to keep our jail. You know that big shiny jail downtown? That's where he going. You know how much it costs to keep it, then you give it something. It costs $200-300 a day, which technically, sometime it do, to keep him in the jail. All of that stuff we can do. And here's why we're going to do it with Allah's help. We're not drinking the Kool-Aid of hate, the Kool-Aid of mistrust. They had that foot on that man's neck to make us hate white people, to make us hate. Well, don't nobody like that police. That was murder. But it don't have nothing to do with all the other Europeans. And then we're not going to have that type of police department. No, we're going to have conciliators, and we're going to have, and that's expected in this town. It don't happen right away. Right? You're going to have some, but as the years go by, your town is going to adopt and adjust, right, to the structure that you've laid out. Yeah. In other words, so it's petty utopia. It's not all the problems ain't gone, but the white folks and the Negroes and the Mexicans that can work all out in the country, they just haven't thought about it. They said, well, wait a minute. They got all the stuff is already built. We can remodel for a little bit of nothing. And ain't nobody going down the street. The kids can run outside and play. They can do like we used to. At dark, you come inside. All the rest of the time, you can, right? I'm telling you. A park, the whole town is a doggone park. And they do have some parks. I drive through towns, man, they got, everything is there. Those are prototypes. We're not going to let these criminal people drag our mind back there with them. We're not going to let them take us back to Martin Luther King. We're not going to let them take us back to Malcolm X. They're already our heroes. But we're going forward because we got a job to do. Okay. Then, so exposed masjid, business schools, geographical integrity. We talked about that. And number 3, America the good. We always talk about it, right? America the good. But we got to sell that to America, and it's got to be worth something. Well, your income can go 2 or 3 times as far. That's a pretty good incentive. You choose your neighbor. Your neighbors are people that have accepted these ideas. That means they know what they've accepted, and so that means there's a better chance of them evolving into it. They won't be at the minute, I swear that's what we're going to do. That's fine. That's like getting saved or something like that. It don't work. You know, you still into whatever you was into, but you know where you want to head. You know, it's becoming what I want to become. Okay, design, escape fantasy, we've already done that. Social isolation, well, we talked about people that want to avoid public spaces. They feel uncomfortable going to the parks and everything. Especially cities like New York and all that, just don't feel comfortable. But out there, you have the public spaces are there. Some of the places, most of America that we drive through, man, the people got it going on, but they don't want to be there. They can't keep it up. So we get them, use regular advertising. First of all, though, you got to be real about it. We got to let them know you can't play games with the people because they're going to find out in a minute or two. What's going to keep us honest or keep them honest? The white folks that practice what they preach, they're going to get more and more people until they get as many people as they want. They don't want to become no big metropolis now, remember? But they want to fill up the houses, fill up the schools, and they don't want a polluted lake. They want that freshwater lake they got there. That you can go swimming in the lake. You know, that's where people used to swim, in the lake. You want to swim in the lake? Yeah. You have to have a swimming pool. You want to swim in the lake. And whoever a good swimmer, he stays down there for a couple of hours. Somebody else come. You got a relaxed, loving atmosphere, right? This is what people can do this, and it's not hard. You're just not thinking about it. Another thing is going to prevent the wholesale transformation of wealth. They transferring the wealth in a hurry. From me and you to the super rich. People get back out in the country, right? They choose what kind of bank they have. They want an old-time bank. They know the bank guy in the bank. Guy in the bank know them. They need a little money. They go down and talk to them. Right now, the bank that owns your such and such, you don't know who it is. You can't go down and talk to nobody about your mortgage. You don't know who they are. You got to research to find out who has your mortgage. Or who has authority, right? This is, people are crying for this, back to the village, you know, where they knew people. This is what we're going to help America provide. It's already there. Why are we going to do that? We don't have nothing to do with so-called the Europeans and all that, but it's America the good. If we can make America good, we can keep it out of our business, because they blow up and destroy our countries all day long, and we have to start all over again and rebuild and rebuild and rebuild. You see what I mean? So it's a global consciousness, but it's the first stage. This is what we was. What's the first stage? Prototypes is the first stage. And we was thinking, man, it jumped all the way from where we are now to influence in the direction of change. We'll influence the direction of change. We're not asking nobody nothing for this. We're asking all those people, you hook up with your little towns, you all get off your little websites, and when your town is full of people, your website send them to somebody else. Because all of you know which one are living up to your guidelines. You see what I mean? Hey. And we'll acquire a lot of things too. We'll put masajid beside the road or in the big complex. You know what some of them will be? It'll be like the masjid. It have a big section over there. The Muslims, when they travel, they could pray. They'll have a meal or two a day. And it don't cost them nothing. Just if you think it's worth something, just drop something in the box. Can you imagine? The Muslims traveling from coast to coast with 5 kids, and he can see, well, if we go up another 500 miles, there's a masjid there, 300 miles. You know, we get there, see, hotel costs us, let's just say $100 a night. Food will cost us such and such. Suppose you provide that. And it's not big fancy stuff. It's all like, well, the people are more wealthy now. But you get your bedroll, and you lay out, not in the masjid, but because there's another section for sleeping. A couple of nice bathrooms, shower, right? Shoot, on I-10, they got one masjid that has not only the bathrooms, it has a shower. Even when the masjid is locked, I can open the door and go into the bathroom and the shower. Right on I-10. It's in New Mexico. Yeah. Las Cruces, that's the masjid. Yeah. Suppose, see, and you don't have to worry about the cost, because if you don't ask nobody for no money, you know they're going to donate. Serious. Can you imagine how grateful the people will be that they can stop and rest? It don't cost them nothing. And they add up in their mind, if I was doing that, such and such. And the environment is good. You ain't got nobody in the hotel saying, well, checking everything off. If you get one of these, that's $5. If you get one of these, that's $10. Right? They hustling. Suppose you're in a friendly environment. You can pray. You can do everything. Right? That's part of what we're going to do. When we get our $100 million from the government, those are some of the projects we're going to do. It's been good traveling across the country. You see everything that's needed. We see the need for masajid. All you have is a big sign that says masjid, right? And the people are going to pull in there. All you have to do is have one person there to help and da-da-da-da-da. And simple as that. He can be from the masjid in the local town, 5 miles away, 20 miles away, 50 miles away, but he has a shift to hang out there. If he steals all the money, so what? Ain't gonna hurt nobody. He probably won't steal it all. He'll give us half of it so we can build some more masajid. That's easy. And then we inside the city. So you can see those are the 3 main issues that we're dealing with. And I'm gonna let you go. And if there's any questions or comments, we'll be happy to deal with them. Are there any questions or comments? Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. Okay, very good, very good. Well, a few people listened. Bless their heart. We're happy with y'all listening. For a while, we thought that, well, anyway, don't worry about what we was. But look, now you send that good message. We're going to be recruiting pretty soon. You know all of this talk? It's going to take people to do it. I want y'all to think about that. So all of this talk is going to take people to do it. And in the first stages, we call this our pioneer stages, where you're working for the cause to get this done, that done. And that's what happiness is. Anyway, thank y'all very much. As-salamu alaykum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Are there any personal questions about